My stepmother called me jobless trash. 2 years later, I bought the house and threw her out. My name is Ryan. I'm 24 years old. I had just finished college, top of my class, but still jobless. Life hadn't given me a break yet, and neither did the world. I had dreams, ambition, and hunger to rise, but no direction. And when the world gave me nothing, I returned to the only place I had left, my father's house. But I wasn't supposed to be here. This place used to feel like home. Now, it felt like a trap dressed in marble and silence. My father, once a tall, proud man with commanding presence, was now bedridden. A shell of the man I once looked up to. Frail, weak, silent. Not because he wanted to be, but because he had no choice. And then there was Clara, my stepmother. Loud, glamorous, always out with her friends. The very picture of a doting wife in public, and the complete opposite behind closed doors. She played her role like a seasoned actress. But in truth, she barely acknowledged my father's existence. While he withered in bed, she thrived in salons and spas. And me? I was the burden. She reminded me every single day. Still reading those useless books, huh? She scoffed one morning, her heels tapping like a ticking bomb across the marble floor. Why don't you try being a man and get a job instead of freeloading here? I clenched my jaw. I could have answered back. I didn't, because she didn't understand. Or maybe she didn't want to. She didn't know I was reading everything: finance, coding, startup case studies, biographies of visionaries. I was absorbing knowledge like a sponge, staying up all night under dim candlelight when the power was cut, because she conveniently forgot to pay the bills. She called it laziness, but I was preparing for war. Quietly, patiently. Betrayal, treachery, deception. They wear lipstick and designer sunglasses. They smile for neighbors and carry shopping bags from luxury boutiques. They pretend to be caregivers while bleeding the house dry behind closed doors. That was Clara. She made my life a living hell. She slammed kitchen doors just to wake me up. She screamed about groceries she never bought for the house. She insulted me in front of every visitor, neighbor, and delivery man that crossed the gate. "This is Frank's son," she once told the mailman with theatrical pity, pointing at me like I was some abandoned stray. Useless. Sits at home all day. Jobless. Living off his poor father's pension. You tell me, is that a man? What stung more than her venom was my father's silence. He never defended me. Not once. Some days, I wondered if he even knew what was happening. But I soon realized she made sure he didn't. She lied. About everything. She had unpaid bills. She secretly sold his treasured possessions, items from his youth, his books, his medals. She racked up debts from her spa visits and brunches with plastic friends, while making my father believe she was caring for him. She wasn't a wife. She was a slow poison, and I was her favorite target. After 6 months of torment and humiliation, I reached my breaking point. That night, there was a storm. Rain lashed the windows. Thunder cracked like a warning from the sky. I was drenched, clutching a bag of second-hand books from the market. Clara stood at the door, arms folded. "Stray dogs belong outside," she hissed and slammed the door shut. She locked me out. No hesitation, no remorse. I stood there in the rain, soaked, shivering, heart pounding, not from cold, but rage. That night, I left. No job, no money, just a few books, my battered old laptop, and a mind that had tasted injustice and remembered it. This wasn't the end. This was my rebirth. And one day, Clara would learn. The stray dog she threw out in the storm would return as a lion. They say rock bottom builds empires. Mine did. After Clara threw me out during that storm, I walked through the night with nothing but a bag of books, a half-broken laptop, and soaked clothes clinging to my skin. The city didn't welcome me. It never does when you're jobless, broke, and homeless. But I didn't quit. I couldn't. Not after what I had endured. I started working odd jobs, whatever I could find. Stacking shelves at midnight convenience stores. Washing dishes in the back of greasy diners. Fixing broken code for pennies on freelancing sites. I slept in cramped shared basements. Sometimes in storage rooms. I skipped meals to save a few dollars. But I kept learning. I kept grinding. I kept remembering. Clara's voice still echoed in my head, cruel and cold. "This house isn't a charity. If you can't pay bills, you don't belong here." I remembered how she slammed plates on the table just loud enough to jolt my father awake, only to scold him like a burden. I remembered how she laughed with her friends in the living room while Dad lay alone in his bedroom, hungry, confused, helpless. I remembered the day she screamed at me for using too much water to make tea, then left the tap running in her bubble bath for over an hour. Every little humiliation fueled me. Every cruel word she said, every slammed door, every fake smile she gave to neighbors while destroying the man who once gave her everything. It stayed with me. But so did my father's silence. And that haunted me more. I didn't know if he was aware of what she was doing, or if he was too weak to stop it, or if, in his heart, he was ashamed of not protecting me. Some nights, I stared at the ceiling in whatever hole I was staying in and wondered if he was still alive. If he was still being lied to, mistreated, fed those tiny spoonfuls of poison in the name of love. And yet, I didn't call, because I had nothing to show. Not yet. Then, one night, while debugging a faulty logistics app for a small business, it hit me. An idea. A spark. A platform to automate and optimize last-mile delivery for local vendors and shops. A system that could change how small businesses deliver. I buried myself in the concept. Months of sleepless nights. Failed prototypes. Bugs. Rejections. More ramen than sleep. But I kept at it. Then a breakthrough. A lucky pitch. An angel investor who believed in the vision. And just like that, Swiftfleet was born. Within a year, it exploded. Acquisitions came pouring in. Partnerships followed. Tech media outlets lined up for interviews. My face appeared on magazine covers, under flashy headlines. The delivery kingpin who rose from nothing. But through all of it, I stayed silent. I didn't call home. I didn't message. I didn't even look back. Not yet. Until the day I bought that house. The same house, where I was called a burden. Where I was locked out in a storm, where my father and I were slowly forgotten by a woman who pretended to love. And that was the day everything changed. I returned in a sleek black SUV, its tires crunching over the gravel of the neglected driveway. The old house looked worse than I remembered. The once white paint now cracked and peeling, the lawn wild and tangled, the iron gate rusted and half hanging off its hinges. I stepped out slowly, dressed in a crisp tailored suit, flanked by my legal team and a man holding a set of brass house keys. The house, the very same one I was thrown out of like garbage, now belonged to me. Clara answered the door, bleary-eyed, in a stained nightgown and curlers still clinging to her thinning hair. She looked nothing like the glamorous woman she used to parade around the neighborhood. The moment she saw me, the color drained from her face. "What are you doing here?" she stammered. Her voice was shrill, her hand gripping the doorframe for balance. You can't just." I said nothing. I simply handed her a letter. Thick, official, printed on firm legal parchment. "You've got 48 hours to vacate the premises," I said calmly. "It's mine now. Bought it from the bank. Turns out someone defaulted on the mortgage." Her hand trembled as she unfolded the papers. Her eyes darted across the words, then widened. Her breath hitched. She turned pale. Of course, she hadn't told my father she mortgaged the house. She probably signed it behind his back to fund her designer bags, spa retreats, and bottomless brunches. But her secret spending had caught up with her. And now, her kingdom was gone. "You can't do this to me," she shrieked, stepping forward, her voice rising with desperation. "I'm your mother." I laughed, but it was cold. "No," I said, staring straight into her hollow eyes. "You're the woman who left my father to rot in that bed while you threw parties and got drunk with your friends. You're the woman who humiliated me, locked me out in the rain, and called me trash. You're not my mother. You're nobody." She opened her mouth again, maybe to plead, maybe to curse, but I was already walking past her. Inside, the house smelled like mildew and dust. The air was thick, heavy with the decay of neglect and secrets. The living room furniture was covered in sheets. The chandelier had cobwebs. But I didn't stop until I reached the bedroom. There, in the dim light, lay my father. Smaller, thinner, his cheeks sunken, his eyes dull, but alive. When he saw me, something flickered. Recognition. "Son, is that you?" he whispered. His voice cracked, fragile, but clear. He remembered. I rushed to his side, dropped to my knees beside the bed, and took his frail hand in mine. "You're safe now, Dad," I whispered. My voice shook, but I held back tears. "I'm home." Outside the room, Clara sobbed. But I didn't care. Let her cry. She had turned this house into a graveyard of cruelty. Now it would be a home again, for the only person who ever truly mattered. Clara didn't take it well. She begged. She cried. She screamed. She even dropped to her knees, gripping the marble floor she once ruled like a queen, wailing about everything she sacrificed. This house was mine. I kept it standing. I deserved something. When she refused to leave, locking herself inside the master bedroom and threatening to never come out, my legal team calmly made the call. Within the hour, authorities arrived. She was escorted out with a suitcase, a stained robe, and no dignity. The same neighbors she once greeted with fake smiles and flashy sunglasses stood by, watching as her bags were dragged to the curb. Someone filmed it on their phone. Her meltdown, mascara streaked, hair in disarray, screaming profanities at officers and me, hit social media by nightfall. The video title? Entitled "Stepmom Gets Kicked Out by Billionaire Stepson," screams, "I raised him." It went viral. Within days, it was everywhere. TikTok, Instagram, YouTube Shorts. Even a meme page turned her face into a trending GIF. When karma knocks hard. People she used to brag to, show off designer handbags in front of, suddenly laughed at her. They called her Lady Leech. Some even shared past stories, whispers of her affairs, rumors of debts, how she was never truly caring for my father. She tried to fight it legally. She claimed emotional damages. She failed spectacularly. The house was bought fair and square. Her name was never on the deed. And when the bank exposed her reckless debts, luxury credit cards maxed out, personal loans unpaid, and even the family heirlooms pawned, her case crumbled in court. Even her so-called friends abandoned her. No more spa weekends. No more champagne brunches. Turns out, they liked her wallet more than her company. Meanwhile, inside the house she once tried to kick me out of, I hired a 24/7 nurse for my father. I renovated the home, painted every room, fixed the roof she neglected, and turned his bedroom into a sunlit retreat filled with warmth, jazz music, and books he once loved. My father smiled more. He talked more. He lived more. And as for me, I never stopped reading. Because knowledge didn't just save me. It built an empire. If this story shocked you, make sure to like, share, and subscribe for more real-life inspired drama stories.